Better leave it to the professionals.
Last by Bundy, blah, blah, blah.
Started off with a bit, now I'm going. I see where y'all going. Been popping since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living the dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes. I'm telling you, I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, yo, set it up. Surfing on the web and I'm shooting at 3. I've been goated when I got my G. I'm an alien boy from a different planet, yeah. So I got my drink, I'm riding in the 1920s Model T Ford. Car era lore. Call me Levi, playing on the keys, boy.
GM, welcome. Steve's not here yet, so I'm taking random shots at him in the chat. Drop us a GM down there in the chat. Give us some love on the space. It is pinned up above, along with the shows for the rest of the week. Thursday, Friday, we do have special guest lineup. Should be a great show today as well as then. Go hit those reminders, give us some love on the space, and we'll get rolling here in about 60 seconds.
In the pavement, Whitney, Bobby, Amasaki, bomb, Hiroshima, Nagasaki. Bruce Wayne been a dog, and I keep it 101, cause I'm feeling kind of spotty. Sipping on some rock and I'm sipping on octane. The only thing around my neck started is the off with a bit. Now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been popping since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living the dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes. I'm telling you, I'll sell you a percentage on that. Shout out to Vince, he'll set it up. NFT, Twitter, blockchain. Seeing with the ghosts and we ballin' like the Brown James. Crypto. We can make a trade, get the memo. The field's not falling for the FOMO. Listening to coffee with Captain. You know we worldwide, they local. I ain't never gonna stop rapping. Orlando, yeah, we working magic. We rocking Ethereum entities. I just went and caught me a half base. Man, I gotta shout out the boy. Now I got coin. I see where y'all go. Been popping since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living the dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes. I'm telling you, I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, he'll set it up. Freaking the more to choose one, but they got knowledge to move, son. I'm shocking in shades with my brother in suits. Yeah, them blues is coming. Even though it's hard to pick, eeny, mighty, mo, soda on the mix, no biting lips, it's time to go. Index number 1, no thumbs up, you gotta scroll. Looking at the ghost in studio, it's time to go. Had a helmet on by myself until I met a mask that wanted to have a face off. Had to bring my chainsaw, full tank of gas in the ride with my brakes off. I'm A1, but a different kind of state.
This episode is brought to you by DGen Network, the only community-based Web3 media network, bringing you the very best content in the NFT and cryptocurrency space. Please visit dgen.network and check out our other great shows. That's DGen, DGEN.network.
Welcome to the future.
Welcome to Coffee with Captain GM. If you haven't done so already, drop us a GM in the chat down below. Give us some love on the space. It is linked up above all the way to the right. Those likes, bookmarks, reposts, they go a long way with the algo and help us tremendously. We'll have some fun today. We've got a couple guests actually, impromptu. We will weave in and out of the conversation this morning. Always just for fun and entertainment purposes only. Never any financial advice here. Crypto is risky. NFTs are risky. It's probably all going to zero, including CryptoPunks, Steve. That is the bid wall down to 0.2 or 21 ETH, not point anything. My brain is messed up because yesterday I went to fire into a pre-sale and I couldn't get it to work. And it was because I didn't put the leading zero. It had to be a 0 point something. So anyways, I digress. GM, everyone, thanks again for joining us. Give us some love on the space. Linked up above. And Steve, how you feeling this morning, GM, sir?
Doing good. Lots of stuff going on today. I have a sort of a hodgepodge of topics that are super interesting to me. So, it'll be like a sort of a dealer's choice of anywhere we want to go. But no, feeling nice.
Probably let you choose. I woke up feeling a little spicy this morning, and I've considered going off. I'm probably not going to do it. It's not going to solve anything. It's not going to help anything, and no one else cares about my problems. And they're not like real problems. So just feelings that are probably better left said off air.
Personal stuff related to our industry or stuff just related to your personal life?
Certainly industry related, but it's one of those, like, it's just not this is like a real struggle with being a host. Like, we are, Steve and I'll speak for him. You get the authentic Steve and Cap on the show. Like we share, like we wear our real feelings and thoughts on our sleeve or on the mic every morning. We are us, right? Like whether it's the cold open or, if we don't know a topic, we'll let you know about that. Sometimes though, there are things that just aren't proper for like airing of the laundry, if you will. It's just like, I had a mentor once tell me, like, in especially like in leading a sales team or a sales organization, he said that it's always optimistic on the showroom floor and you're realistic in the boardroom. Meaning, yeah, in building a business, in entrepreneurship, and new novel industries in general, there's going to be challenges, there's going to be frustrations, there's going to be things that problems that you have to solve and deal with. You keep those in the boardroom type setting, and you don't let your front lines get distracted by challenges and problems that you're solving behind the scenes. Keep them focused on the good that's happening and keep things upbeat, optimistic. And this was shared in a sales environment where I feel that's even more critically important than a listener base. At the same time, by nature, I'm an optimist. I'm not someone who's going, like, I don't enjoy talking about problems. I'd rather fix things and or just move on. I think that's kind of where I'm at. So yeah, it's just one of those things. It's industry related, but not something that probably not like getting spicy on our show isn't going to help anything. And there might be things I can do to help behind the scenes.
I'm so curious now. You're gonna have to text me whatever's going on here because I've been very curious about what this may be, but we'll definitely connect offline about it as we go. It's a busy time though. I mean, on the plus side, things looking good for Coffee with Captain lately. We've been having some really great conversations, which has been really nice. I've been, my consulting gigs are starting to kick up a little bit. So it's like one of those things where I feel like bull market energy is sort of an exciting thing for a lot of people. But as you were kind of giving your tee up there, I saw Sheba's hand fly up. So let's go to Sheba, and then we'll keep running through cold open, and we'll get to some of these topics. I'll kind of give you some choice. Sheba, GM.
Good morning, Jim. I wanted to say hey instead of sitting here for 25 minutes. Cap, whatever you're talking about, just DM me. I'll say it for you. I don't give a crap. I'm a fan of laying back for once. Usually, I'm on the timeline expressing my feelings for the space. But
I will give Shiva some credit for originality this morning. I saw probably, not an exaggeration, no less than 10 clips of Biden yesterday. 9 out of 10 were referencing, it was some joke about me after I took an edible, me after I took a 100 milligram nerd rope edible, me after I took the edible at the concert. Like every single person made the exact same joke about the Biden video, except for Shiba. I'm not going to say what his joke was, but if you're curious, you can go to his timeline. It's probably still up. But yeah, you get credit for being the only one with an original joke on the Biden video meme.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
The things I wouldn't go in, like not my journey, Steve, but to each their own on what they want to put in the public eye.
You know how I am. I don't give a fuck. I did want to shout out today's maybe Moonbird next level in phase 1 new beginning day. So I thought I'd start out fresh here at 8:00 in the morning on your show to talk about the excitement that we are feeling over there in the Moonbird end. So I hope you have some time at 4:00 EST or 1 PST to come see the animation video or short clip they are also releasing with the art. So it should give some good ideas of what they're doing next with this new direction.
What is the excitement about? The new art is coming.
The art's dropping today, 100%. That's in the space at 4, but there will also be a short video of some sort that is going to show us what they're doing with this art. From what I was told, we were told.
So this is like I saw this a little bit on the timeline yesterday. I think from you actually specifically, but like this is the new art that they talked about a while back. We don't know exactly what's happening with the art, but we know something
No, we do. They have it's been said multiple times. It's been said by the team that they have a built-out storyline. It's already complete that as few of our members have seen a little bit, as few of us have seen with our own eyeballs. So they're integrating the new Moonbird art with that storyline, which is the Mythics, which I don't know to the extent of what we're going to see. I don't know if it's like a preview of a first episode or if it's just some clips or some pictures. I have no idea what they're showing us. All I know is that there's a space today, and it's all about the art and then whatever the next steps are. So, yeah.
Well, look, I know you don't give a crap about this, but I know people will always, people can like dunk or be like, oh, what's going on with this or that or whatever. I am happy for you, Sheba. I am genuinely happy that you are excited about this. I'm excited for Moon because when certain NFT brands come up, people like just want to like dunk or make jokes or like their immediate thing is to try to be cynical. I'm happy for you, and the thing is, like, as long as you and other holders are happy with what's going on, that's awesome. So congratulations on that. I hope you enjoy whatever it is they put out. Very exciting for Moonbirds to kind of get moving on some stuff. Also toss out some GMs in the chat. GM Dow Jones here every day early. James Costa, we see you out there. Dort, Big Bear, Von Frunton, Teacher Katie, Showbiz, Ron Jordan, Aspiring Nobody, Circles, Diablito, Ark Invest, Mel, always out in the chat. Usually first. Mel is a quick one on the draw. Brick It All, Peanut, of course, in every morning. Stephen Moore, the regular show up. Melkor, thanks for all showing up. I know we didn't hit everybody, but love seeing the GMs in the chat. His with a GM, a like, a retweet, a bookmark of the space as we get this sucker warmed up. Spaces have actually been really interesting how they've warmed up lately in that they've taken a little...
It's a slow burn.
It's a slow burn, but it's a burn that is... It's like they're starting to integrate, I think, more social audio features. I saw yesterday when we had Board Elon, we had a little fire emoji at the top that said like 215 people have joined this space or something. So that was kind of cool to see like a little bit of a, I don't know, a little bit of something up there. So that was dope. Appreciate hopefully seeing some more stuff, but it does take a little bit of a slow burn to warm up. So appreciate all that. So here's
shout out to it's paying homage to NBA Jam in the greatest era of NBA basketball of all time.
Oh my, he's on fire. That was such a good game. Here's what I got as a general sort of stack today of things we can cover. Obviously, Sheba hit on the Moonbirds thing, and again, very happy for Moonbirds community and what's going on there. Good people in that, like Sheba and many, many others.
Has LeBron ever been in NBA Jam?
I mean, like he's been the best player in like multiple 2K games. So,
but never featured in an NBA Jam game, huh?
Just
one other data point.
Yeah. It's how many it reminds me of like there was this turtle that they had. This turtle was like 125 years old. They're like they showed it and like the meme was like 125 years. It's like Morton is 125 years old, the oldest turtle on Earth, and it's like Morton lived through the Holocaust, slavery, and many other atrocities and did nothing. And it was like just funny kind of seeing like we're like, okay. But Sheba, go ahead and jump in before we kind of get the list on the group. We're still cold opening.
I had nothing on the turtle thing, but I wanted to say, I don't know if you heard about the drama that's unfolding in the Dogeable Dog community. Finally, those MFers saw the 80% supply that they were holding, and Books finally dumped on his own community in that floor of that project.
Wait, what is this? I don't even know.
Books and Bark, right?
Yeah, I don't keep up with them too much. But what happened?
Yeah, long story short, they started that Dogeable Dogs project back in February. Pretty much abandoned it, propped up the supply or the price with how much they were holding between wallets, which we told them about, like the community. And then also back in March, they opened up like a fake marketplace that was like another website that people were going to and connecting their wallets. So when they purchased dogs, it actually just got sent to another wallet and they lost their money, which I also pointed out, which no one really cared about. But yeah, last night there was a really big space on how they've rugged all the coins that they've launched pretty much besides Dooku, which is pretty much St. Peter's coin anyway. But or Duck, whatever the name of that crap is. And then their project is pretty much sitting at like $500 floor price from its high of $5,000 floor price, where I sold at, thank God. But yeah,
I mean, Rugger's gonna rug. I mean, this is one of those things where we just saw. I don't remember which Rugger group it was. It went relatively under the radar. I actually I should have had that on my stack this morning, but there was recently a project that like got brought up for rugging people, and so it's like. I've had this conversation with, my co-author certainly a lot, one of my collaborators, and like the idea that nothing will ever happen related to the blockchain to people is one of the things that's really interesting. Like people are like, oh, well, that happened 2 years ago. It's like, when you look at like audits on people go back years and years and years and years and years. And it's one of the reasons why like I get shit for being super careful about things, but like the blockchain is forever. And I think we're starting to see some of the recent, sort of like rug pull things. We're starting to see some of those come back and cause some more drama for people, and starting to see some people get into real trouble. So I just think that we haven't seen the end of this. I think we're going to see at some point people get popped for various things because it once the technology catches up, it is on the blockchain. So I definitely think there's something that could possibly happen. Shiba, I'll let you get in here before we get news of the day one more time.
Yeah. I want to talk about this, not right now, but sometime today. A lot of people on the timeline have been talking about the Blast Gold, the ruins. Like when the market ends up taking a dip like this, you usually get, I'm not saying everybody does it, but a lot of the scammers tend to bail out. They find an opportunity when there's any type of pullback to be like, the market did it, and the coin goes to shit. So I want to deep dive into a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about for the last 3 months that haven't really made it. And especially short term with the way the market's been. So I wonder what the next few weeks are going to look like if we do hit more turbulence on Bitcoin's price here.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting thing to follow in the market in general, and the direction it ultimately goes, just because, to your point, like we are seeing a little bit of turbulence in the market, but I to me the turbulence is a good thing. I think we're Cap. You want to know one of the reasons I know we're entering sort of a really solid market at the moment is that I saw Bitcoin. I got the alert, Bitcoin down from 70 to 66K market jumps, and I don't know about you, Cap, but I looked at it and said, for the first time in a while, zero nerves, zero anything. I was like, this is a great buying opportunity. Like I said that out loud to Mrs. NFT Bark. And so I do feel like we are turning that corner a little bit in the market. Are you feeling that same way, Cap, before you get into some of the new stuff?
Yes. Yeah. No, I feel pretty strongly that, and someone sent this out, might have been clouded. I'm not really sure. By the way, we owe him a congrats. His IMF fund minted out, or sold out of the pre-sale. Doing some interesting stuff there in the world of DeFi and memes. We'll have to have him on someday when timing's right to talk about what he's doing. But I think it was a post of his, but if not, it was someone else on the timeline. I just saw this morning. It basically summed up my thoughts and feelings. I'll see if I can find it so I can give proper credit. But it was essentially that CT dropped the ball on the Bitcoin ETF trade, and they're going to do the same thing on this ETH ETF trade. Like I think these any dips right now, I think are probably a blessing, and it's hard for me to see a scenario where ETH just doesn't absolutely melt faces post ETF. It may pull back immediately following the day it goes live. We might see a small pullback. I'm feeling pretty convicted in what I think will be the press tour from Larry Fink and all those that are actually selling the ETF. I think there's going to be the institutional demand on the bids coming in, the net inflows. I'm pretty sure will occur. Like with Bitcoin, we had the grayscale sell off. We don't have that here. Like I could see just green day after green day after green day as it relates to net inflows, and then further, I think the narrative will really, like, even those who are like on the sidelines or may hold a little bit of crypto, I don't think the narrative of Bitcoin is digital gold is anything new. I think even your most, like, my mom probably knows that analogy that Bitcoin is comparable to digital gold. I don't think many, if any, understand that aren't in the space. Those that just have a little bit of Bitcoin and ETH in their Coinbase, while they may liken Bitcoin to digital gold, I think most probably just view ETH as the second major in crypto, and it's less expensive than Bitcoin. Maybe I'm completely off, but that's my read, that the public sentiment thinks ETH is just the cheaper version of Bitcoin. But those of us here realize that it's completely different, and maybe this narrative or this analogy of it's digital oil maybe that does stick. That's something I've heard relatively recently, or at least it didn't hit with me when I heard it in the past, if I did hear it a while ago. But I think not only does digital oil as a new meme stick for Ethereum, I think it will attract not just those looking to diversify their investment portfolios. I think the impact of the Ethereum ETFs are going to onboard many builders. I think it's going to onboard many devs that are out there that might be looking to do something different. And as crypto gains more attention, as blockchain tech gains more attention, I think that this mainstream narrative around Ethereum could be a catalyst that really attracts and brings in a lot of people to the space. And yeah, I think we very well could see a pullback shortly after, kind of like a sell the news type, sell pressure, because we also know that the ETF inflows likely take a little bit to really gain steam, right? It's like day one is probably not going to be their biggest day. It's that Larry and maybe they hit the press tour immediately, but I have a feeling we could see kind of a similar quote unquote sell the news event, and then I don't know if it's a week later, I don't know if it's a day later, I don't know if it's a month later, but I am anticipating a very violent movement up only for a while following this ETF. I just don't know. I'm not good enough to time it. So I think, like, for me personally, I want to keep stacking ETH and DCAing into it, and just not, like, the last thing I want to be doing right now is selling ETH. In fact, I may be looking to, and I feel similar. It's not the right time to sell ETH NFTs, but there's a few that I did not move that I am considering just moving that into ETH right now, because I do think we're within a few months. I think we're going to see some violent movement to the positive side on ETH.
Yeah, I think this is actually a really interesting one. It's funny, like, I didn't have this one on my bingo card this morning, but I will say I actually think, like, I had this conversation 2 days ago. I had a call with a friend I hadn't caught up with in a while, somebody I had previously collaborated and worked with on something. And during that call, we were sort of chatting about, like, the Bitcoin ETF and a couple other things. And one of the things that came up to them is that they have a pretty decent 401k. They work at a really nice company. They've been saving up, sort of maxing that sucker out. So they're doing well there. And we had this conversation where they mentioned to me, they're like, yeah, I toss my entire IRA into the Bitcoin ETF. I'm like, your entire IRA? They're like, well, yeah. And again, to be fair to them, this person's relatively conservative in their investments. They're like, yeah, I have, like, everything conservatively invested in my 401k. So I figured this seems to them, they were saying, this seems like the most obvious trade ever. They did it right when it dropped, similar to me. There was a little early drop going on, and then it was like it shot up. So I think my Bitcoin ETF, last I checked, I think is up 62%. I have to check the exact number. Don't quote me on that, but something to the tune of like 62%, 64% last time I checked. So that means, let's say this person had, $500,000 in their IRA. I'm, like, making it up just to give, like, a nice clean number, right? It's like, that means that $500,000 is now $800,000 if they put all of that money in there in basically, I don't know, like 4 months, 5 months. That is a bananas number. And I think there is only a matter of time until people start seeing that on Wall Street and thinking, that's really interesting. What's the next one? Oh, it's the ETH one. To your other point there, we talked about a couple of coins at that point. We talked about, ETH, and we talked about Chainlink, and like, they looked at Chainlink, and I can't remember what the market cap of Chainlink is. I don't want to, but they heard me say it a couple times, and they're like, oh, market cap of, whatever it was, like 8 million or something like that, or 9 million. So they're like, not that small. And I was like, look, if this is the future infrastructure for banks, and as always, just being clear again, nothing on this show is financial advice. Markets are exceptionally risky, as B-Check would say. So, we're not trying to tell you where to put your money, but it's like, you look at that, and I said, well, is 9 million really that low if this becomes the base layer for banking, banking software? Is, 425, million that low for Ethereum if it becomes the base layer of the internet? And I think that, like, that's the thing. as you mentioned, that I think we're going to be seeing a little bit more of as time goes on, which is like, if they start saying this is something that can make your business better and we're already using it and they're already using it and they're already using it, like it's a thing where you blink and you're like, oh, like the cavalry has come with the big banks and this is what they've decided. So that one I agree on. And it's one where I'm still not going to go super hard at the ETH ETF, but it is one that interests me because, the digital oil comparison that, again, we've heard a little bit is one that I find very, pretty apropos from what we can tell based on the way it's being used. So I love that. And I will be paying very close attention. And to your point, we mentioned this on the show many, many times. It felt like a lot of us, again, like more or less, for lack of a better term, fumbled the bag when it came to the Bitcoin ETF, meaning a lot of us, didn't continue accumulating as much as we should, knowing this thing was coming and knowing this thing was going to have a positive effect. And I still think it's early. I was talking to a friend I'm getting into crypto yesterday, but it's like, I'm now at the point where it's like, I don't want to be that person who's, oh, you were early to crypto. You must be doing really well on Bitcoin and Ethereum. I'm like, yeah, I just have a little bit because I was dealing in mostly JPEGs or things like that. Like, I want to be really, really, really smart about where my money goes. So I'm with you, Cap, on that. And I'll be, fascinated to follow the ETF stuff. A couple of things I want to throw on your radar and get your take on it. So there is a sweep of 52 Lil Pudgy Penguins. Cyrus had a really funny tweet, something like, I hope this is someone front running it for my bag's sake. Kind of prompts the conversation of, is it because they keep getting these airdrops like ZK Sync? Are they coming out with their own token? Is somebody front running something else? Trump wants the remaining Bitcoin to be mined in the US. So that was a very sort of positive, crypto measure, another crypto measure from them. And again, like, not a main platform item, but certainly something that he's making more and more relevant and bringing into the conversation. I actually thought like what the colony is doing with some anti-botting measures was pretty cool and maybe worth just giving them some flowers on some stuff they're building over there. So that was sort of like a general stack I had going. Any particular direction you want to start, Cap?
I'll let you take it. No preference on my end. Dealer's choice.
Okay, so let's talk Lil Pudgies. Because this is like sort of the news of the day. I think for a lot of people is that we saw, we woke up, Cyrus had that tweet. We had again 52 Lil Pudgies getting swept. And every time we see one of these trades, something is being front run, it feels like. We see it before major announcements, major news. Now, that major news doesn't always move things positively up, but it certainly is something that we tend to see happening on a regular basis. As we get ready for sort of Pudgy Summer, we've heard about Doodle Summer. All these different brands are talking about it. Are you exposed at all to the Pudgy Penguin ecosystem? Do you think if you were in the Pudgy Penguin ecosystem, Cap, would you even drop a token at this point?
Absolutely not. It would be the biggest. It'd be the first big miss I think Luca could do. Like, why do they need to drop a token? What are they going to do with it? And why do they need it? Like, what's the pros that would come out of it?
I mean, I think it's just for them, again, I'm just, teasing it out. I think the pros coming out of it would be one, sort of raising money, right? I mean, that's like one that we know that VCs are looking for. So if they are looking to raise,
at what cost? What's the cost of raising money off the back of a token in today's climate?
Yeah, I'm not, and I don't fully disagree. I'm more saying that
I would argue it'd be far more cost to them and their brand and their ecosystem than would be just another round of traditional VC raise. They raised what, 9 million last time? Go back. They have to be like, whereas most that raised in this space, they're looking at a down round right now. It's just the reality. Like almost all are looking at a down round. Pudgy's probably one of the few exceptions that if they raise 9 at, I don't think we ever got the public valuation. Let's say it was somewhere between 10 and 20%. So let's call it 45 to 90 million valuation. They should be able to raise now at probably 10x that based on what they've accomplished since that raise. So I would say, as opposed, if it's, I'm not advising the team. If I was, Riggs, this is what would be, I'm curious his thoughts, and you probably can't speak, but I would 99 times out of 100, I would tell them they're far better off to just go raise, 40, 50 million at a $500 million valuation
as opposed to trying to pull in 40 million from a token drop that is going to, it's like what, like I just it's maybe there's a point in the future they need a token. I don't see any use case for it right now, and it would put a lot more pressure. I mean, I think it was Riggs that coined this phrase, this utility debt. Man, like they don't have utility debt right now. The instant they drop a token, they accumulate an immense amount of utility debt. And I think the other reason I would be so against it, Steve, is they don't have to. Like they just got the ZK airdrop this week. Like they're getting third-party airdrops without incurring any of that utility debt. Like why take on that risk and that utility debt when they just like I don't think there's a need to right now. I mean, like, yeah, I guess funding, that would be the one thing that would come out of it. But outside of a capital injection, why do they need a token?
Yeah, and that's sort of like the thing that I'm kind of looking at, where it's like I would agree on the overarching point you're making. My main thing is like I don't know what their capital situation is. I don't know what their plans are. I don't know if they wanted money to try to like continue to get a further at sort of a relatively dominant market position. Like there are a lot of reasons there. But my main thing is like, did they decide they were going to try to go to get around? And then, every, sort of investor they talk to is like, look, we need a token. Token's what we need. And that would be the reason I'd be thinking about it. And then that, that news getting out would be, super interesting. I will say that we have, Phonics in the war room saying Lil Pudgy's sweep was to get some layer 0 token allocation. So that could be the case as to what's going on there. No idea if that is or isn't, but it was just an interesting thought because, anytime you see this run, we had this before. We had a really big run.
By the way, wait, Steve, the snapshot was March 24th. So if they swept now, not sure how they would get any of that token.
Yeah, so there you go. Like, I don't know. So if there was a snapshot and it was missed, I'm not sure where they're going for it. But my point being, we had the same conversation at one point during, I think it was Art Basel. We saw Pudgy's absolutely rip going into Basel, and everyone assumed that meant that a token was coming, and it didn't. So it doesn't necessarily mean that, and we have no information outside of what anybody listening has. I think from our end, we're just, I'm just trying to think about, like, I generally agree, like, what is the upside? At the same time, if they're raising capital, that's what's, that's what a lot of VCs are asking for right now. But, Joey, I saw your hand go up as we were talking about this, so feel free to get in here, Joey.
Yeah, so I only hold a couple of Pudgies. I bought them way back at like 0.3, and I was being too particular with what I wanted to buy because I'm really into like aesthetically pleasing NFTs. Like, the traits have to match. So I bought 2, and I never ended up buying more because I never found any that I liked. So I haven't been able to capitalize on all the running of the little Pudgies, which is fine because I bought them because I liked them, not because I intended on trading them for more money. But yeah, the snapshot was March 24th. So if you're sweeping little Pudgies right now, I don't know. And again, I don't know what future potential is, right? I only know what the announcement says in the Discord, which is, the snapshot was back in March. And this announcement literally came out yesterday. It says ZK Sync, Pudgy Penguins got a community allocation. Snapshot was on March 24th. For more details, head over to the blog.
I think Phonics was, and I could be wrong. I'd have to double check with him. I don't think Phonics was talking about the ZK Sync airdrop. I think he was talking about something else.
That makes sense then. Yeah, that makes sense because there are constant conversations in the Discord about potential opportunities. So maybe this person is trying to front run another opportunity that's potentially being discussed. But I'm on Team Cap with I think launching a token would be the worst thing that Pudgies could do at this point. There's no need for it. Maybe we're still waiting to see what Pudgy World becomes with their mini games and all this other stuff. So we had what's his name on board on the other day where he mentioned you have to create demand, whatever he said, something about like you have to create demand before you should launch the token or something like that, right? So if Pudgy did intend at some point to ever launch a token, their focus should be continuing to build out Pudgy World and the utility within Pudgy World to create the economy for the token versus front running all of that with a token. But I don't think they need one. I think they're doing incredible without one. They've got they're making money in retail. The sentiment is really high on the timeline. So I don't see the need. They have a pretty lean team from my understanding as well. So I don't imagine they're burning a lot of cash. But yeah, I mean, it's a great community. I know they have a lot of things they're working on that have yet to be announced. So I'm really excited. But yeah, I'm on team no token for Pudgy.
I mean, to your point, the time, like if there was a Pudgy world and there was integration, like yeah, that checks out. That makes sense. There's a use case for a token, and maybe they're a lot closer to that than I'm anticipating, and that'd be like one announcement followed by the other. That would make a lot more sense than right now. I don't see any need or use for a token. It just comes with it. It'd be like I feel like at this point it'd be like dropping another collection. It'd be like having to deal with the Elementals Fund. Like, would they get money? Yes. At what cost? Is it worth it? Is it really needed to go that route when? And then it's going to be win utility for token, win this for token, win this for token. Just it creates a whole new set of expectations, a whole new set of holders that you that are looking for something. And maybe it's just number go up, but even still, I don't know. I would be there. It makes sense for some, but I think for Pudgy right now, like they've got a lot of really good things going, and I think a token could bring on a lot of external pressures that Luca and the team just simply don't have to deal with yet today.
It's funny, we talk about CryptoPunks and how like people like just leave them alone. There's no utility, just leave them alone. I kind of almost feel that way about Pudgy Penguins, right? Like they were left alone for so long with no expectations outside of just the community. And then all of a sudden they started to deliver, but it's delivering to where it's not like there's no expectations though, right? Like the Pudgy Penguin community isn't harassing Luca and the team like, what's next, what's next, what's next? Because for so long, there really wasn't anything outside of just being a Pudgy holder and being in the community. And to your point, Cap, if you do launch a token, you're going to start to create that other sentiment of what's next, what's next.
Other side was
next.
a Freudian slip, wasn't it?
I was going to say, I love how we can't say the term other side on like a space without all of us being like, the other side of that argument.
It brought out feels. No, he definitely like. I don't know if he did it intentionally.
I did not do it intentionally, but once I said it, I was like, "Wait a minute, people!"
I gritted my teeth, motherfucker.
I was like, once I said other side, I was like, people are going to think I'm talking about it. So let me switch what I was going to say because I didn't mean it like that. But my head went there. I did not do it on purpose.
I was like, oh, this motherfucker's making fun of me for not selling a land with Coda and then trading it for a Moonbird when it was at the top. Look at him. No, I would say this. Like, I would, well, two things. One, sounds like Luca alluded to some big things coming in the last Inner Igloo. So that is something to keep an eye on because if that's the case, perhaps we have, perhaps there is something afoot. The other thing
the question is what's afoot is if whatever comes ends up being heavily in favor or weighted towards the littles, then we know that this is, once again, some insider info got or at least a hat tip someone got wind of something that they took action on. I'm going to play the other side and say that's probably not the case. Just rather someone decided to load up on they wanted some exposure and felt that maybe more upside in 52 Pudgies in terms of a trade than putting that same allocation towards bigs.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing about it though is that I will say this, and I not to put him in a weird spot, but I feel like every time we bring up token, there is a vehement "they are not dropping a token" tag I get in the war room from Mr. Riggs, and this time he just said I can't say anything. So I'm not.
You heard it here first on Coffee. Pudgies are dropping a token. Riggs has confirmed it.
No, but in all seriousness, it's like I think like, and the reason
you guys
why
get Riggs fired.
There could be like a lot of reasons for that, right? It could be like No, I actually, honestly, like, I think he's, I'm not just saying this as a hedge. Like, I actually think he's handling it well because I think all of us are in situations where we get privy to information at various times. Joey, you're working at the Colony. I did consulting with Doodles as well as other brands. And we're always looking at these things and we're like, man, or you talk to people and you don't act on it, but things are coming down. It literally could be, another toy drop, right? Like, it literally could be an expansion into a major retailer. It could be a gazillion things that they don't want to talk about and you don't want to tip
Could be
it.
another third-party allocation. At this time, Littles are getting allocation. Like in the ZK, I think it was just Bigs. I don't think Littles got any. I think it was the same with DYM. I don't know if Littles have got any of these third-party airdrops, and maybe that's something that someone caught wind of.
We haven't. We're like completely neglected. They just don't care about
For all
us.
we know, it could be the founder. It could be the team of another project that's going to give a big allocation to Pudgy Littles, and they went ahead and scooped up a bag before they announced it.
But I will say this, and this has been something that I've run into recently, is that everybody I talk to, when I would say probably, let's say, although Riggs just hit me in the war room with they are not dropping a token. So maybe there you go. But everybody I've talked to in crypto a couple years ago, everyone was like, I can't believe Bored Ape's dropping a token. We can't get thumbs up on that.
Tomorrow on Coffee, Steve gets Riggs fired.
But like all these people are like talking about like not dropping token, not dropping token, not dropping token, all these things. And like they're like, we refuse, like regulatory environment. I've been having a lot of conversations recently where I've heard everybody changing their tune. I don't know if someone found a legal loophole. I don't know if
VCs won't invest. Web3 crypto VCs won't invest unless there's a token. Like it's a hard no. Like it's went from I don't know, regulatory concern like to win token. Like from the VCs. Like there's not an investment round taking place if there's not a token coming in this world.
Yeah, and I guess like that's like part of it though. It's like if that's what we're hearing, then part of me is like, all right, well then like it wouldn't shock me if previous, brands that were like, no, they're not doing this thing. We're like, you know what? We're doing this thing. And so I just think like not saying it's happening with Lil Pudgies. And by the way, absolutely ripping on the majors right now. ETH just took a God candle upward after this drop. It hasn't like God candle's an exaggeration. It's just exciting.
We've got a whale listening in. They heard my bullish take on this ETF.
Cap is moving markets. Cap is moving markets.
Show yourself. Who's the whale listening in? Come up on stage. You're welcome. Come show us your drop your wallet in the chat.
Yeah, and let us know what you're sweeping. But no, it's definitely something we've seen happening, I guess, from various brands. So something to be paying attention to is that they are now more comfortable with it, whether it's simply because that's the only way they're getting investments, or it's because they are more comfortable and there's some regulatory loophole. Because they're not the only one. Like I've probably had at least 3 conversations I can think of at the top of my head.
Oh, it's inflation. Good inflation number. Sorry. Breaking news. U.S. inflation fell to 3.3%, which is probably like down 0.1% or lower than the expectations, which I don't know was probably like 3.4. But we're so irrational here and not tied to the macro world. We still decide to move in line with good inflation numbers. Makes no sense to me, but that's probably what the God candle's from, Steve.
Well, in the macro world is always hilarious to me because like if they raise or drop rates like 0.25%, which is not a largely significant number. Obviously, if you say it on paper, if you have to have really large numbers for it to make a difference. You see massive ups and downs in the market as if that 0.25 makes a difference. It's all theater at that point. James Costa new to stage, or not new to stage, period, but new to stage today. Doesn't come up quite as often has a hard stop. Good friend of ours. So we're going to go James, then we'll go back up to Shiba.
I feel bad, Shiba. I see. I know your hand was up, so I do feel bad. First off, GM, Cap, Steve. Hope everybody is well. It's getting to that. It's getting to that weather, Cap, and we'll have some exciting news here for everyone soon. So I'm super pumped about that. I guess I have a couple questions. I was listening to this, and you're correct, Steve. I have zero time these days to come up, even though sometimes I want to really bad. My questions are, with all of the success, or at least on the surface level that we've seen from Pudgies, why would Luca want Web3 money from investors? And I know that's probably a spicy take or not what people want to hear. But if I were in his shoes and I had the success of selling to stores at large distribution, I would probably be going for a different kind of institutional money because I'm able to prove out a revenue model outside of this space. That's A, I guess. And then B, I don't think a token makes any sense given the fact that they do have the kind of revenue model that they currently have, right? So I guess my question is, why would an investor look at this and even want that token? I'd want a piece of the company, right? Like that's I wouldn't. I mean, a token's great; you can make money on it. I get that, but long term, if they believe in the viable revenue model and it is sustainable and there is, scalability there in terms of what they can prove out and show the traction. To me, it just becomes a business that an investor wants a piece of in terms of equity, and I don't see. I kind of agree with Cap on that. I just don't see where a token makes sense.
Why not both? Like that's kind of the idea is like the equity has upside or downside depending on executional risk down the line. You absolutely hedge your executional risk with the token. I mean, this is why companies do the token thing to begin with. Is that sort of these VCs do the token thing to begin with because if you have a token and you have an instant gain back of a large portion of your money because of the token,
It's far
then
more liquid.
It's penny wise and dollar foolish though. Like I get what you're saying, meaning the token attached to it has probably a bigger downside. Um, and that's kind of where I get tripped up. It's like, sure, I might make a lot of upfront money, but I might kill my long-term investment because to Cap's point, you open the door to something that the normal investor is not used to. It's like they'd be like, "What's FUD? Like, what do you what? What am I investing in?" So I don't know if you attach those two. Once you reach like, if I start distributing to Walmart, token is like as far from my mind as possible for me personally, just because of the downside that Kat mentioned before. And as an investor, I would actually be more nervous. Now, I guess Web3 investors, you're correct, Steve. Like, trust me, I've even heard it. It's like you start talking to them and they bring up a token, and I get confused, and I'm like, that's like I guess just the meta for their investments. Now they're back on that track. But anybody outside the space, they get squirrely with conversations like that because to them, it's like the long term equity play is safer and probably has more of an upside. Anything with a downside, to me, would probably push me away if I was an investor.
yeah, see, that's what's interesting, at least on the and again, I could be totally off on this, but from what I kind of hear is like the like people who are investing in these companies are saying, look, like what are the chances this revenue model continues? What are the chances that there's executional risk down the line? It's a startup, it's sort of a, obviously not a first time person in this situation, so Luca has more experience there, but the idea that I've for even traditional investors talking to crypto investors and being like, wait a minute, you invest and get the same equity, but then you also have your downside mitigated significantly by this other factor. I've heard I think I by the way, I don't disagree with the underlying premise that token for token, if they don't have a plan, is dumb. I do think that if they were doing it, which I'm not saying they are, because it seems like we're hearing they are not, sharing a doing the token drop is I trust, I guess, to put it this way, I trust that if they did it, they would be thoughtful enough to do it the right way based on what I know to be true about sort of this team and everything they've done so far. So that would be my thought on this, but who knows? I'm not saying they're dropping a token. We don't know if they're dropping a token. It's more just that's my inclination when I listen to kind of the way that they're approaching it. But
My last comment on that is I actually agree with what you're saying on the premise of launching a project or launching a business. Like if I were to launch a new business today, I actually would consider the token side of it, right? What all I'm saying is for a subsequent, like what Cap even said before, like for follow up rounds to introduce a token into the mix to me would be weird. That's kind of all I meant. But I do agree with you in terms of like there are times and places where it makes sense. And I'll end it there. And I appreciate you giving me the time.
right on. Sheev, go ahead and get in here.
Man, I don't know the Bitcoin ordinal spaces, but James, it's good to see you. I think this topic is key importance because I always lean back on Pudgies when it comes to conversation around what the fuck do NFTs actually do. Like, Is there a company? Like I usually, when I explain NFTs, I use Pudgies as an example, and I explain the toy aspect and what they're doing with it, because it's relatable in a sense. You could tell a small child, or you could tell an adult, and I think they can get it. You're like, look at this toy, and you can make it really simple. I think Pudgy World is exactly where they should be focusing on, because if you think about the next 6 to 1 year, looking at what Yuga Labs is doing with the gaming end, I think everything is going to probably unfold within the next 6 months, at least for the other side. So Pudgies has to kind of compete with that a little bit, right? I don't think the toy market's going to drive them for the next 6 months to a year. It's not going to drive the floor price. I agree with you. I don't think a coin's a good idea. If Luca wanted to drop a token, he probably should have did it 3 months ago when the meme coin market, token market was hot. Instead, he partnered with a bunch of other random ass brands and companies that had some random tokens, and it dropped some good liquidity, which was nice. But that's not the market right now. So dropping a token would probably be terrible. I think it would just crash. Market is still undecided. That was a nice pump by the rate cut. I looked at the stock market, the Dow Jones, and jumped also 250 plus points. Gold also jumped. Silver also jumped. Most of the market jumped. The only thing that didn't jump is GameStop. Rip, but we also that coming. But yeah, I don't think the short term to the long term should be just the toys. I really don't know much about the Pudgy World thing. I've only seen clips and videos out of like New York City, and so I don't know what the huddle talked about the Pudgy World or what they're doing on the gaming end. If there's an update, maybe we can get Luca on here, maybe to update us what they talked about in the Igloo thing, so people outside of Pudgies could know what's going on. But yeah, I can see that there's going to be a divided on the East side when it comes to who's going to take the branding over the next 6 months. Is it going to be Yuga with the other side, or is it going to be Pudgies with Pudgy World and the toys, or could it possibly be Moonbirds with the animation IP and the storyline? So who knows?
Yeah, no, I saw Joey's hand fly up as he was going. Joey, go ahead and get in here with anything you wanted to hit on, and then maybe I know there's some people coming up, some impromptu guests, some awesome friends of the show talking about some stuff they're working on. But Joey, go ahead and get in here, and then I may keep your mic open on some colony stuff, but go ahead and get in here.
Yeah. So, Sheba, to your point, like the Pudgy team is actually extremely communicative about like what's happening, right? So there's always the inner huddle. They're constantly posting announcements in the Discord, whether it's like full-fledged announcements or community alerts. So like if you're not a Pudgy holder, but you're curious about what's happening, and I know nobody ever wants to join another Discord, right? Because there's so many of them, but there's a ton of information regularly on what's happening with Pudgy. So like I would say if you're curious, join the Discord, read through the community alerts, the announcements, etc. Join the inner igloo. They also host spaces pretty regularly, and they're really good about posting stuff on X as well with updates. So like you could probably spend 5 or 10 minutes and get a lot of information in the Discord on what's happening. I don't, as a holder, and I'm not part of the inner circle. Like I don't have any, but as a holder, like I don't see Pudgy World as a competition for other side. Like, or well, not competition as in like, it's the same. So it's like, COD versus Fortnite, right? What I'm saying is like, I don't see that as their catalyst of like,
I think that's really bad. You're saying it's not COD versus Fortnite.
Yeah, I'm saying it's not.
It's more like Fortnite versus Mario Kart, which is not
like
it's two different.
I know, but
universes. One's for adults and open world, and one's for supposedly kids.
Yeah, but what
right?
I'm saying is I don't see Pudgy World as their like big roadmap thing that's going to like take down Yuga, right? Like I don't.
No, exactly. It's another route for them to go, though. They have toys. They're bringing in money. It did well for them over the last few months. I don't think they can sustain what they're doing with the toys to bring in revenue. Another thing I think Luca fucked up on was when you have the information of where the sales are coming from, you need to get those people to just log online and leave a comment being like, yes, I'm an NFT holder, or I'm just a Web2 nerd that just bought this in Walmart. Like, I just have two options so we can at least get an idea if we're onboarding new people from Web2, if it's just us Web3 guys going out and spending $5,000 at our local Walmart, which was happening. The whole Pudgy community was, it has to be, this could be ridiculous, but I'm going to say it was like 70% of the Pudgy community was out there.
There's no way it was 70%.
There's no way. Sheba, do you realize?
Okay,
Sheba, they've had sell-throughs, they've had new new stores come online. Like that
I think
doesn't
that might
happen.
have been fair for like the Amazon launch. That was probably accurate. Might even a low number.
The first
But
launch,
for
the first
retail,
launch.
I don't think you're anywhere in the ballpark.
No, there's like in order for them to be able to sell through and reorder.
If that's the case, if 70% of the sales have come from the NFT space, then 50% or more of those pudgies are getting returned because there's just not enough of us. There's not nearly enough of us across the globe that's going to sell this many toys.
Hold up. If 70% of those sales came from the NFT space, then every company in planet Earth should be trying to get into NFTs because that would mean they have sell-throughs in Walmart, Amazon.
That's what I'm saying. They didn't
Target.
sell through. If it's 70% NFT space, they didn't sell through. We got lied to, and they all got sent back to the warehouse because there's not enough people here to sell that many toys to. There's just not enough of us.
There's definitely a better way where we could have tracked on like trying to bring in new people because, like we said, those toys were not meant to put in to bring people immediately to come.
I don't know, man. I'm
NFTs
seeing the toys everywhere. I have no vested interest here. I see the toys everywhere. And I know some of these are placed. I know they've done a great job of actually getting pudgy stuff in the hands of real KOLs. And I know that all isn't organic, but the way they're doing it comes across organic, so it accomplishes the same purpose. Like they've executed that playbook. Luca's very good on the Web 2 influencer playbook, and they crushed it. And no one talks about it. Like they talk about toys in Walmart. I think it's more impressive with their product placement. This proliferation thesis is like they're nailing it, and no one ever talks about it. Like that's like a real, like that's hard to execute unless you're just going to stroke huge checks. Maybe they are doing that as well. I would guess not. I would guess it's more based off relationships and understanding that game.
If you go into a Walmart with your daughter or son, and you walk around the toy aisle and you see a bunch of stuffed animals, and they're like, "Oh, Dad, look at that pudgy! It's so cute. Let's get it." They're not going to say that. They're going to be like, "Oh, look at that penguin. Let's grab it," and they're going to give it to their kid. And if their parents have no idea what that is, they're not going to type in the name on Google and be like, "Let me look."
Yeah, but Sheba, that's false. That's false, Sheba.
So.
If anybody buys any item and it comes with a QR code or some type of instruction book, as a parent, right? Whenever I open up any of the toys that my children have, if there's something that's like, hey, scan this to get more information or scan this to set up your toy or whatever, you do it, right? So the idea that like a kid says, oh, that's a cute penguin, mommy, I want that. And then mommy brings it home and they open it and mommy pulls out the paper and sees that there's 20 other little characters that go with it and she can scan it and whatever, they're going to do it. There's a reason why major toy companies have this exact same model.
That's exactly my point, Joey. We need to see if they're actually doing that, if they're scanning it. Like it needs to be tracked somehow or just a quick questionnaire.
It is tracked because
it's tracked.
It is tracked.
Do we have the data for the?
I know Luca shared. I know Luca shared some
Sheba.
numbers. I don't. Real quick though, like I don't know. Joey, let's get back in here. I don't know that this is a valuable discussion in the sense that I'm pretty sure, and I'd have to double check that Lucas shared numbers in the past on some of their sell-through numbers and some of their things.
I mean, it's a claim too. It's probably on chain. It's a layer too. But are those digital assets? Are they centralized, or can you see the unique wallets being turned on anywhere on Dune? I'm guessing is it like Polygon, or where do the digital assets in Pudgy World live?
They use Zk.
I have my own Pudgy World wallet where all the traits and stuff that
it's just yours. You actually have a wallet address that you. So if it's your own,
Correct.
it's not a centralized.
I believe
account.
it's built on ZK Sync,
Nope,
and that's why they got
mine, and I can buy, sell, and trade them myself. So it's like my wallet. But the real quick response to what Sheba said about like where's the data. I don't know why people in Web3 and the NFT space feel entitled to know everything about somebody else's business. Luca doesn't owe you or anybody else.
Because that's the narrative we spun here was, everyone has to build in public, and building in public means 100% transparency, and it's just not real.
I'll also defend Sheba that he's not.
You don't need the data. I don't care.
He's not saying
how many
he's entitled to
unique wallets, downloaded traits.
Joey,
I just care that they're continuing to be successful and build. And I think that that's one thing we need to realize in this space is that like you don't have to know everything.
Right, but real
just
quick
my
on
point
that,
about what you said about like where's the data.
Sheba's not saying he's entitled to the data. Sheba's simply asking a question. Like, to be fair, he's asking the question of, do we know if this was actually bought by consumers or not? Like, regardless of successful business, but like, I do think fair. Like, I'm not saying like whether we're entitled to the data, but he never said we.
Steve, I'm just personally worried about the reorder. Like, I don't own a Pudgy or a little Pudgy right now. I only have little Pudgies in the past. I think the reorder is what I'm trying to understand. Is I understand it went really well the first 2 months, the launch, the relaunch, back in Walmart. Now we're in
Here's the
Target. I want to see what their plan is to keep that
hold
ball
up.
rolling.
That's the key. You just nailed it. Yes, I was the same critic as you were. I was like, yeah, this is great to land a Walmart deal, but knowing just a little bit about national retail, a fraction of what Luca does, it's very difficult to turn a profit in that channel because of the terms. You're likely like net 60, like net 6 months sometimes, like net 180 days on payment terms. They're going to have big clawbacks in terms of if we discount, we're discounting you. And often you're lucky in a deal like that at size, at scale, you're lucky if you can, it's almost like a loss leader at these price points. They're lucky if they can get out of the thing breaking even after they get paid. And they probably had to float payroll and float commissions. Like it's not a great business unless you get the reorders, unless you get into Target, unless you like, so where they won wasn't the first load in Walmart order. For where they won me over in terms of like the sustainability of their business model was the second Walmart order. And even more impressive was the Target order. Like that doesn't happen. Like they don't have to share us the data. Where we know that their data is strong is the fact that they won the Target deal. Like because that was after Walmart. If the data sucked, they're not wasting their time with them. Like they had the legitimate sell through. Otherwise, they don't land that Target deal. They don't land the second Walmart deal. Like so, to your point, even though we haven't seen the data, I think we can feel safe assuming it's strong to very strong because of those subsequent deals that they landed.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's a fair point as well. I want to go to James though. I know we're kind of rifling through, but and it's a good conversation because like again, like I will again to sort of defend Shiba on that and saying that I think it's not a matter of like demanding it. It's a matter of concern to make sure the business is truly there. Again, the lot deal in Asia, I forget what the name of the one is in England. It's like it's internationally successful right now, and one of the bigger and by the way, Cap, like like you're tugging on my heartstrings when you talk about the sort of creator strategy that they've had with various Web2 creators because they've like when you see a pudgy penguin on a celebrity, it's like I don't know, like it's a lot cooler than the product placements I used to friggin' do for like lean cuisine, where it's like, but it's like similar to that, where it's like the way that the Daily Star shows like the person in Grey's Anatomy with a lean cuisine in their cart, and they're like, oh, like lean cuisine, like so and so drinking lean, like that is whether it's paid for or whether it's organic. Those are always good. They're almost always paid for, by the way. The fact that we're seeing a lot of creators, it's one of the reasons why, like, I don't think DGods are in the ground yet. I mean, when you see people like, I know people like love to like DGods to zero, even Frank himself, but when you see people like, like Bryce Hall, who's got a DGod PFP, like that's a bullish indicator for, a brand when you look at like culture and where kids are going. Zoomers are like not to be trifled with when it comes to this particular, Zoomers as a demographic are going to continue to be not only a worthwhile spender in the market, but a continual participant in the market who is determining where brands are going. And, Thread Guy actually had a post the other day about how Zoomers had like one of the best rebrands of all time. Because if you don't have a Zoomer on your team, you're out of touch and cringe or something. And it's true. So anyway, probably worth going into, but let's go, James. I know we have Ed coming up. We're going to talk to Ed here in a second. We can hit a couple of hands before that. James, I know you had your hand up a second ago. Didn't know if you wanted to finish your point.
Yeah. So Cap kind of made the point that I think is important, and we've got to remember Luca went on a space. Cairo was actually on it, and he challenged his business model in terms of exactly what he said he was going to do. And by the way, he did exactly what he said he was going to do. He was going to use Amazon and a model that he had used in the past to create momentum that Amazon then, in terms of the way the algorithm works there with retail, would show it to more individuals and it would increase the sales and they would sell out. And it's exactly what they did. Then they took it to Walmart and they had a sellout there. And then they got the reorder and then they got Target. It's like, I don't think Luca owes anybody anything in terms of being a business owner other than that kind of success metric, right? Because, we always talked about in this space, someone needs to develop some sort of a sustainable revenue model that others outside the space can look at us and say what they're doing there is actually serious. We have someone doing that. I don't think any kind of questioning in terms of what he's doing at this juncture makes any sense. Because if he's been this successful thus far in doing that, and I actually do think that that's a sustainable model. There are plenty of companies out there that sell toys. Now, do they have things off the back of that? Do they have IP that they then use in other ways? Sure, but that's why you build the brand to be able to do those things. So I say we let him cook. I say he's going to do incredible things. They're already doing that. I won't be shocked if they raise a ton of money. Like if they do, I'll just look at that and say, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, they're in Target and Walmart. They got a successful business. Kudos to them. I look up to him, man. I think he's doing an amazing job, and I think we should all aspire to kind of do the things that he's doing. And I wish him all the success.
Are you trying to bait me into a joke here when you say you look up to him? Because James played
I
running
look
back at
up
Florida
to most
State, not the
dudes. You know that.
tallest. Played running back at Florida State, not the tallest, but athletic. Clearly, if you were at playing at a major D1 school in the '90s when they were at the top of their game, so not the tallest. Also, Luka, very tall. In fact, the first time I met Luka, he was hitting a turnaround jumper on the Alien Friends display at VCon, and I looked up and I'm like, that guy's a lot taller than I thought he was. Let's by the way, Inter-Igloo number shared, as I'm understanding it, is 1.3 million toys sold this year. 1.3 million. That's so many toys. All right, let's do this. We're gonna hit Blockchain Ninja, and then we're gonna chat with Ed Balloon. And I actually think I have a transition over to the Ed Balloon chat. But Blockchain Ninja, go ahead and get in here.
GM, you said transition. I have to hit on the D-Gods thing real quick. I think Caitlyn Jenner getting D-God was like the best transition ever. Okay, now back to Luke. So it doesn't have to be new people, and it doesn't have to be just NFT people. You could have people like me who grew up as a quote-unquote collector who liked making full sets. So literally any town that I go to, and my daughter loves these little things, right? The little igloos, she loves opening them up, the mystery of what's inside, shaking them, and like it could be stuff like that. So every town we go to, we specifically go to Walmart in every single town that we visit just to literally buy them out of any Series 2 igloos because we still don't have a full set. So it might be things like that as well. I know I've spent probably enough on these little Series 2 igloos to buy a Pudgy. And it's asinine, but my daughter wants a full set. So as a father, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah, honestly, actually, so this is an interesting point. Is that I am very similar where my daughter and her friends, we have full sets. And we actually got lucky. The alpha was when Five Below first got them. They put out these entire boxes, and I wanted to be supportive of Lucas. So similar to sort of the Shiba King theory here, I bought the entire box of them. The box, which was missing two, had all the full set basically in the box when they first sent them out. They weren't randomized. So I bought the full box. I got it. It wasn't that expensive to get because these things aren't that expensive. And then when we wanted to get the full set, we went back and we got more. My kids have given them to their friends because they liked them and they enjoyed having the toys out and they're, put them on display. And so, to your point, that is the perfect combination because yes, I am deeply entrenched in Web3. I am the Web3 nerd, right? At the same time, my daughter is not. She understands a lot of what I do for a living. She knows it's my job, but she's not deeply entrenched in Web 2 or in Web 3. The reason she liked them is because she likes the Pudgies. My son, trust me, he is not afraid to tell you what he thinks. He marches to his own drummer, which I'm proud as fuck of because he says if you want to do something, he doesn't just like something because everyone else likes it. He does his own thing. My son has a little Pudgy or a Pudgy plushie on his backpack. If he's choosing to do that, he actually likes them because he's not going to do it just because we get it for him. He's not going to do it just because it's my job. He's not going to do it just because someone else tells him to. But both my kids have these on their backpacks. And so that is an interesting way of well, that's a web 2, a kid from a Web 3 person getting introduced and then their friends see it and it becomes this sort of, sort of network effect. So I think it's an interesting nuance of early on, a lot of us might have bought them out, but the proliferation, as Cap said, really interesting to see.
Hey, Steve, did you have a whole series or a whole set of the Series 2 ones?
No, not Series 2. I'm talking about the Series 1 ones when they first dropped.
I was about to say, I have bought 13 full boxes of these Series 2 igloos just to get my daughter the avocado one because she wanted it so bad and it's exclusive to Walmart. So like that was the key to, I guess, part of the strategy was making Walmart exclusive. So there's 3 Walmart exclusives in case anyone doesn't know. The avocado, the taco, and I can't remember what the other one is right now, but oh my God, she had to have the avocado. That, and we're only missing the little golden football guy. So, if anyone knows any Walmarts in stock in PA, just throw them to me in DMs.
Yeah, this is the good collector conversation too. It's funny. Joey Vowles was asking me yesterday because one of the cool parts about Colony is they offer this sort of buyback thing that allows you to basically swap your card when you rip it from a box if it's not full value. And Joey's like, "Oh, so did you swap?" And I'm like, "I'm a collector. I'm building a set here. I am in by no means going to swap anything out. What do I look like, a coward?" So I'm just like keeping those things going, but like it's like, similar to you, Blockchain Ninja. It's like I am a collector, so that's what I'm doing. But uh, Joey, I'll let you get in here, and then we'll talk to Ed for a little bit, just because he's got something cool coming up, and wanted to bring him up to get some exposure to our audience and everything as we were talking. But Joey, get in here.
Yeah, real quick. So we keep talking about Walmart and Target because we're all in America. But realize also that Pudgy is in the largest retailers in Asia, Europe. Like, it's not just America, right? Like, I know Walmart and Target's a big deal, but like, there is a world outside of us. So, to people's point about like the proliferation of Pudgy penguins, it's happening globally. That's all I just wanted to add.
Yeah. I mean, in the US, you already talk about Amazon, Walmart, and Target. Again, the largest Asian retailer, I forget the name of it, but it's like Lot or something like that. I forget the name of it. It's again pretty common sounding. It's the most British sounding name ever, whatever it is, the European British retailer. And again, to me, it's like that is what this is sort of about, right? It's like that is what they're trying to accomplish is that. So I think getting that worldwide recognition. And again, 1.3 million units, that's not nothing. That said, it's funny. We talk about toys. We're talking about toys and Pudgy Penguins. I won't tease out too much what it is because I'll let Ed talk about exactly what it is. And by the way, Ed, feel free to pin anything to the top along with, I know Sheba's got his Moonbird Monday up there, so feel free. Anybody should hit a reminder for that if you're able to attend it. But
That's for the Space Today, not Moonbird Monday.
Oh, sorry, not Moonbird Monday. The Space Today to Moonbirds. Look, it is Wednesday, but it's
Just a bunch
impossible
of
for me.
turds hanging out.
It's
All
impossible
right,
for
Joey.
me. It's
I
impossible
love
for
you,
me
Sheba.
to keep track of the days on a regular basis. I just can't do it. Every day just runs one into the other. So there is a Moonbird space. I know Sheba pinned to the top. So Ed, feel free to pin anything top. But Ed, I want to start off. GM, appreciate you reaching out. And we talked about toys and retailers from Web3 brands. You got something going on, not toy-wise, but with a brand that does something like that. So I'll let you go ahead and jump in here and kind of start to share anything you want to on that subject. I don't want to give away the goose on this one. Go ahead and jump in.
Hey y'all. Yeah, so I'm Ed if you don't know me. I feel like a good amount of you people do. And yeah, so this drop that I'm doing, it pretty much is inspired from a collab that I did, I believe late last year, with the V Friends VCon community. And um I guess I've only had 2 people do it, me being one of them and Eric Snowfro. But I was one of the artists to do the tickets, the art on the tickets for VCon 2023. And I had Ed be the puppet. I did if you guys know my medium, I'm in many mediums, but I um, did a skit with Ed be the puppet singing a song that I created called I Need Friends. And based off of that drop, there was a lot of people that loved it and they just wanted to have the full song, and it's inspired me to decide to do something for the community, as well as others in the space, to create a drop that will allow me to give the song in its completion. But I also just wanted to do something to showcase music as well as art. I feel like in this space sometimes we tend to um, you know dismiss other types of artists in this space, and I am someone who is in multiple mediums, and I feel love for all, and for me I just want to bring love to that. Um, and so with this drop here called the narrator, which is all me, and but really inspired by just the space and the community of just like the narrator is. If you have seen it, I pinned it up on top. It showcases the silhouettes of it's my hand, and it's the silhouettes of Edby the puppet in each finger, and that is really to showcase like the puppet, being the controller of the puppet, which is Edby the puppet, but also to take it a step deeper. It symbolizes, decisions that you have the control over. And I feel like sometimes when you move out of lack, you feel like you don't have any control. Um, and when you move out of lack, there's this place of just not feeling like you can make the right decisions. And so it's for me, especially currently right now in this space, I think sometimes it is good to take a beat and to know that you are still in control. I understand that life you can only have so much control, but the control that you do have, you have you can use to make the right decisions to help you with your journey. In addition to that, the hand being full as with the five fingers for me shows wholeness, and I just feel like that sometimes we feel like there's a lack there and a void that we always are trying to fill. And, you can only fill those voids, I think a lot of times we try to go to the external, um, which is, with the I need friends. But, in order for you to find friends who will, I would say, uh, add and continue on to help you, right? You need to make sure that you are able to be a friend to yourself first. So, so yeah, that is the piece in its entirety. This open edition is $20. I think a little bit of the gas fee, but it will be incredible for everyone to support. 250 is the number that are trying to reach, and if we are able to get to that, there will be more and exciting news. I cannot say what it will be, but it will be something that I feel a lot of people will enjoy. And I don't know. I feel like if you can read between the lines, you'll probably know. But but with that being said, you can only get to that with 250. And if we hit 250, you also will get the complete song token gated. That was a lot. Did you guys get that? Was that good?
No, it's great. I mean, I'll definitely mint. I know I
Happy
was.
birthday, Ed. Happy birthday. It's his
Oh yeah,
birthday, if anybody's
and it's
curious.
also my
It's his
birthday.
birthday.
Oh,
Happy
happy
birthday, Ed.
Thank you.
Happy
Thank
happy
you.
birthday,
birthday
Ed.
to you.
It's awesome because like I remember last year one of the exciting things for me was when I opened up a live stream. I didn't even know they were revealing it, and they're like, "We're revealing the ticket artist." And I look, and I remember seeing you on the stream, and I was like, "Holy shit, that's Ed Balloon!" And I was so excited because like I thought it showed that V Friends sort of got it or were listening or understood because they went with Snowfro, which is an amazing person to go with, obviously. Like that's as high as you can go in the Web3 space when it comes to art, right? They went when Squiggles were at the top. And I remember like at the time saying some people, it was hilarious when like the ticket prices went down when they revealed Snowfro, and I was like, what could have possibly been better? I now own a one of one Snowfro. Like that's cool, right? And I think when I saw that they worked with you on it, I was really excited because that indicated to me that they were taking sort of the community aspect of it seriously. You're somebody who's not just in the V Friends community, but the NFT community. I am curious how you sort of make decisions to do different types of art related because you mentioned like and I've seen this in your work. Your art takes on various forms. You do music, you do animation. I've seen you do spoken word, I believe, before that you've posted, right? It's like, how do you sort of decide what medium you're going to approach something with? What inspires you to kind of get started on something like that? On a macro level, obviously you talked about sort of the inspiration behind this one, but how do you sort of approach your art in that way?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I don't like boxes. I've never liked boxes in all my life. I've always been forced to be in boxes. And so when it comes to art, it's literally the only place where I'm able to just be free and think. I think for me, It is something where I don't have any restriction. And I am someone who is like, man, I really want this story to come out. I really want this art to come out. How can I find a way to do it? And I'm all about working with teams. I'm really good with working with teams, especially people who are in alignment with me. I feel like that is something, but I do have a voice, and it's very strong, as you can see. And it needs to get out there, and I will do anything possible for it to get out. And that sometimes means that I have to challenge myself with doing other things, and learning other things and figuring out other things and having to talk to people to understand what I'm trying to do. But I really feel like it's something where it's I have a lot of things that I have that I want to say, and fortunately, I would say, fortunately, those things can't just only be said one way. And so sometimes I want to say something singing, and sometimes I want to say something through a puppet, talking, right, through animation. And sometimes I want to do something just through like abstract art with generative art. And so I think being in Web3 has given me the opportunity to find these different mediums to like voice how I feel. But I also just think as just someone who has always been boxed and forced to only believe that you can only say or do things one way. It's me rebelling, and letting people know that no, I can't be one way. I can't do things one way, or I'm not going to. And I will show you that I'm that I won't. And so that's kind of how I approach things. Um, and I also approach them from different angles. I think a lot of times people are just like, "Oh, we've seen you do this, so we want you to do that," and I'm like, I would do that if I feel like called to do it. It's a calling for me. It's like, is God telling me to do this, or is it more of like doing something else? And that's more of that's why I think a lot of times when people see the work that I do, they're like, oh, I can see the intention. And yeah, it's because I don't just do things just off of a whim. I really do care about the work that I do, and I'm really connected to it. So yeah.
I like that because and again, I've had this conversation recently quite a bit with some of our guests because we have had a lot of we've been fortunate to have a lot of artists on, and I think a lot of times when we have artists on, the consistent thing you hear is they aren't doing art for art's sake just because they decide they want to drop something. Like that's the wrong way to look at it. They're doing art because they actually feel inspired or reason to create the art. It's almost to some degree on a smaller execution. Tim Ferriss used to say this thing I really liked, which was, which ended up being hilarious because it was like, very apropos to my life. But he mentioned he had this comment where he said, when you're writing a book, it's a lot of work. It's going to be hard. You're going to go through it. You don't know if people are going to like it. If you're writing a book, you really want to say to yourself, does this book need to be written? And if the answer is yes, then you need to ask yourself, am I the person to write this book? And so I think very similar with artists, it sounds like, and tell me if you're kind of aligned or if I'm playing it back correctly. You're not going to make art for art's sake. You make art because you feel like it's art that needs to be made and you're the person to make it. And it's not like you just set out and you're like, you know what? I want to make a bunch of money. I'm going to put out an art piece. No, it's more, this is something that is driving and inspiring me. And therefore, I feel like it needs to be put onto a piece of paper or onto a digital realm, so to speak, right? Like sketched out. And that is why I'm creating. I'm not creating just for the sake of creating. Am I playing that back correctly?
Yeah, like, and even this job, I wish I could say more about like why I decided to do this job. Like even like within just the drop, I really care about like intention. And if you know me being in the space, I'm always just like, okay, use cases and how can you use the tech, and how can you, because for me as an artist, being in Web3, right, my goal is to figure out how we can use the tech to make the artists' careers and just like livelihoods better, than what we know. And so I can't say what I'm trying to do with just this job as of yet. But even within this, it's based off of like intention, and I put a lot of work in. Okay, I'm going to do this because I want to see this outcome happen, because or see how how this plays off, because I also want this then to be something, maybe a model that others can possibly use, right? And it's something about me just trying to, and I know as being someone in the space and also an artist and just being out here as a builder, I take risk. I am a risk taker. I do things because sometimes I don't see it. I see lack and I'm like, okay, how do I find a way to do it? And I think a lot of times too, as just being someone in this space and with the market and things like that, a lot of times as artists, we are afraid to do things because it's the same thing. It's like maybe floor price and things like that. But as someone who's in this space, and I'm like, well, someone needs to do it. Like someone needs to find a way to fix it, find a solution, or add to the conversation. And that's me. I've kind of been that way, and even though I also have those same fears, I also have this rebellious nature of me of just like, well, we're just gonna do it. So like, so pretty much to answer your point, yeah, it's way deeper than like, it's deeper than just putting, I would say, aesthetic pleasing, pictures or whatever out. Though that is cool and good, it's deeper than that for me because I have such a deep relationship with just this space and I know what what it can be. I've seen incredible lives change. And I've seen, um, just, things, awesome things happen. But with that being said, I'm also someone who is human, who has things and wants to express themselves. And, whether it's from the cultural standpoint or just a human standpoint, right? These things also matter to me. And so how am I able to also put that into this world as well and see if I can find people who are of the like mind? But with that also being said, in the bigger scheme, it's also just like, okay, well, how do I also use this as a way to maybe open doors or opportunities for others and stuff like that. So it's there's always a lot of layers to things that I do. If you are familiar with me, you definitely know that because I don't know, I'm just all over the place. It can be a lot, but yeah, man, that is really what it is. It's I can't just do things for the sake of just doing it. It needs to really have deep meaning. And I mean, when it comes to deep meaning, it needs to be impactful, and not for the sake of it, not for the vanity's sake, but more so of just like what is it doing and how is it helping people, and how is this an example for others, and how can you know is it opening doors? Is it causing conversations? Is it doing things that's supposed to move the space forward? Because that's what I'm about.
Yeah, is it like something that someone looks at and says that resonates with me? I fuck with this, and it kind of puts me in. Like it makes me feel some type of way. Um, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna let Art Wolfie get in here actually because I saw your hand fly up to this, and then we'll let you get out of here on a question I have to kind of wrap it on. But Art Wolfie, go ahead and get in.
Hey everyone, good morning. Ed, you're so awesome. I love to hear that you are continuously pushing in this space. Like, we're cut from the same cloth. Uh, you know, Many people already know me and know what I do, but it's just if you don't know Ed, he's been around forever and he really gets it. This whole space has been about partnerships. And as an artist, it's kind of the way that you propel yourself forward in this space, right? Like if you're an artist and you're out there doing your own thing as an artist of one, it gets complex, to continue to climb the ladder. So when you see an artist like Ed who is pushing the boundaries of genres as an artist because mainly we see artists stay in their genre. When we see an artist like Ed come out and say, hey, I wear many hats and also there's a depth to my art. But what I loved the most that I want to tap into is that you said you paved the way for others. And that's so important. We're going to see a lot more artists come into the space and need a roadmap that is paved with authenticity. So I just wanted to give you your flowers.
Thank you. Um, thank you so much. Yeah, like I care about people who are not in the space and those who are in the space just trying to figure out, like trying to navigate. There's always been something that has always been dear to my heart. And yeah, I really appreciate you, Wolf, for like, being on. You've been here forever too. And yeah, thank you so much. I don't even know how to respond to that. So much love. Appreciate you.
Ed Balloon, let me get you out of here on like one last kind of question, which is when you are like, it's actually sort of related. So I'm glad that last question was a nice tee up for it, which my question was going to be, you talked about sort of the bravery of going out and trying sort of like, the bravery to try, the bravery to, with your art as you see it. and going out and trying to inspire other artists, and say, hey, like, this is what I'm doing and trying to pave the way. What advice, if you could give a piece of advice to any aspiring artist in or out of Web3, whether they have a fear of failure, whether they're not sure what's going to come next, whether they're not sure whether they want to tiptoe into it, what advice would you give them in the vein of you're trying to sort of pave the way, inspire them, and kind of lead with that bravery?
Whew. You know, back in the day, it would have been like, just go on Twitter Spaces and you listen and stuff like that, which I still suggest. But I think it's kind of very difficult now. Like I would say, a space like yours is something that you should definitely clock into if you're like new and stuff. But there's not that many spaces like yours, to be quite honest. And so, and maybe like 2021, it was a different story. Right, there was just so many spaces and everyone was like learning. Um, but that is one. But I would say the landscape is just totally different now. And so you really have to be someone like if you are an artist, like, and it's kind of why I'm like I try to be out there as much as possible because you kind of want to set this presence where it's you are welcoming to people who are new so they can like reach out. The space is just so different than it was 2021 that it is just a lot of noise and a lot of things where it's just like, okay, why am I here? And so if you are an artist who has been, been out here for quite some time, it is, I would say, kind of up to us. And I know, and I feel like sometimes, or a builder or someone who is trying to see the space more than I would say trading and just things like that. More, just more. Trading is fine. I think there's a balance, but just more, right? With the art and things like that. And I'm speaking from the builder artist standpoint. You really have to come through and really like put out there that you are someone who is willing to have conversations and I would say, I know we don't use the word onboard enough, but I would say really be more inviting to like show people at least the ropes and give them like a little bit of understanding. I think we all been through a lot of ways. It's like, okay, what marketplaces to go on. I think the space is even different from what it was because back in the day, we were all just minting on one chain. Now we're all over the place. This drop that I'm doing is on base. So like that is the beauty of just like the growth that we have what we're doing. Um, but like how do you get someone in? Like do you tell them like, hey, how about you start? And I'm also really dope with like getting people on group chats. I think that's something that's kind of new with artists, especially like getting people, like inviting people to like group chats, getting them, familiar with just people like that you're cool with, right? That's in your circle, that's in your group, and then from there, right, you start to, they hopefully they build the comfort to then go to IRL events, right, and slowly but surely, then and hopefully while they're doing this, they're probably mincing care and doing things like that. But that is the way slowly, I think, currently right now, to get people, acclimated to like this new frontier that we have, Web3.
Love that. Well, Ed, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. Always good hearing from you and always
Thank
good
you so
bringing you
much.
up. And we'll be looking to mint details pinned at the top. So thanks for jumping by this morning. We always appreciate you and everything you're doing in this space.
Thank you so much, y'all.
Cap, I'm excited. I'm going to mint it. I love supporting artists. And I think what's cool about this conversation, too, is we always talk about all the various applications of the blockchain. Like next week, we're going to be having on a Web3 native brand. We're going to be having on, that a lot of people are familiar with. We're going to be talking to a company that is creating, sort of hardware wallets that are kind of new and different that we haven't seen anything quite like before. So it's like, the amount of things you can do in Web3 and NFTs are so different, whether it's crypto or NFTs or using the blockchain. And I just think it's cool to be able to hit on art the past couple of days because we don't hit on it nearly enough. And I think we hit on some other stuff. So any thoughts, Cap, on that?
No, for sure. First, happy birthday, Ed. Appreciate you joining us today. And I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm going to put you on the spot. I believe, I safe to assume that you'll be going to VCon again this year?
Just mint. Okay.
So where I'm going to put you on the spot is, assuming you are going to be at VCon this year, I think, Steve, we should do not just a live coffee. We've talked about doing a live coffee and featuring artists along with it. we've talked about with like, I think it's Soul Curry art and all that she's done, as well as many others in the community. And I think that's what we should just say we're going to do it now is do a live coffee at VCon, but secure somewhat of a gallery or a way to highlight. Maybe it's even just a panel of artists that we talked to with that day. But I think we should do our best to pull something together to feature some of these artists at VCon.
Yeah, I'd love that.
I think that would actually be incredible. I'm not sure if I'm going to be there, but but I definitely think something like that will be dope. Well, so I guess you guys will be going to VCon.
It's the plan. Yeah, I booked my flight, assuming that unless something crazy happens, I will be at VCon. But it'll be fun. But yeah, no, I like the idea there, and Ed, appreciate that, and yeah, good call, Cap. I mean, it was like hopefully we can fully execute on it, but I think it's a very it's a good idea to kind of, because I like supporting artists in the space. So Ed, I'd love that if you happen to be there, but we will be minting regardless to see what happens.
Yeah, I most yeah I can't say much, but yeah, I would definitely want to be. I would want to be at your and at an IRL hosting by you guys, a space by you all. I think that would be incredible. I would definitely want to see that. Like, I feel like there would be so many people there because everyone loves y'all. Everyone loves this space. This space has literally been here since forever. So like, it's really dope that I would definitely want to see this IRL. I think that would be just an amazing experience.
Awesome. Well, again, thanks for joining us. Appreciate you. And Cap, I again, like, art wins. I mean, we've been talking to artists a lot recently. I've had the lucky privilege. I've hosted a couple OCM spaces that I've been able to talk to some really friggin' cool artists, which has been pretty awesome as well. And I love having these kind of conversations because, again, it lets us zoom out a little bit. Where here we are talking about like sweeps and tokens on one end. I probably want to hit on Colony on the back end a little bit here. Bummer we lost Joey, but I know he has meetings and kids and all of the wonderful things that he's got to do there. So no shade on that whatsoever, but I'll kind of read through that as well. But I love that we're getting all these different applications of the blockchain and different things that we're able to sort of talk through on this show, and we can sort of seamlessly shift gears from one to the other. Like, I think it's I don't know, it's one of the fun things about our industry, I think.
Yeah, I agreed. And we get to do so today with, I think, both you and I gaining a little bit of education on a chain that we've not discussed much, if at all, here yet on Coffee. And it's one of our...
Really?
What's that?
Y'all haven't discussed space yet?
You broke out. You cut out there on me. I lost the second part.
No, we discussed base, actually. Cap's transitioning because we had somebody else talking a whole other chain. No, we definitely hit base. We had a panel on base the other day. We love the base. But I know we haven't talked a lot of AVAX, so Cap, I'll let you kind of kick this one off.
Yeah, and before we get into the actual project and what's mini today, I think we have our friend Greg behind the Vanson account, and I would love to just get a little bit of background from himself, all that he's been doing, if he's willing to share, and tie this whole thing together before we'll get to Art Wolfie here in a second and talk about what the mint that's coming up, but. I'd love to hear a little more, get a little more of Greg's background. We have the pleasure of hearing from him every morning in the war room. And I know there's a lot of optimistic people in this space, Steve. I think you'd be hard pressed to find someone who brings more of a positive mental attitude each and every day consistently than does Greg. Certainly a pleasure to have him in the community. He's one of those real builders who, I don't want to say builds in silence, but puts in the work on the timeline, in the digital realm, as well as in real life, doing a lot with local communities and government and just real life brands we'll talk about here this morning. But if you've not yet connected with Greg, we may have to have you pull up your Aspiring Nobody account as well, just so we can give it some love and all of our audience here can give that a follow if they've not yet done so. But GM, thanks so much for joining us. And sorry to put you on the spot, but I'm going to do it because I think this is first time, long time listener, first time caller. No?
Yeah, I have not been up much. I think I've been to as many in real life coffees as I have been up on the stage.
That's yeah. I think you're probably right. Yeah, I definitely. It was great to see you in Austin. You were there at the very first one in NYC, and yeah, it's always great to see at these in real life events. And proud of all that you've been building. You know, behind the scenes, all the work you're putting in, and grateful to get to spend a little bit of time with you here this morning. I'd love to. For those that aren't familiar, do you mind sharing a little bit about your background and how you found this space and ultimately this current project you're working on?
Sure. So the quick version was I was a barber for 7 years, and along that path, my brother and I came up with this idea for some digital software, and we went down that path. And while going down that path, another friend of mine introduced me to NFTs and blockchain. At the time, I was also working for a company called cardhedger.com, where we track sports card sales. It's very much aligned with the colony, actually. And so I immediately understood the authenticity, the verification, and I started looking into blockchain. And since from that day to today, it's essentially consumed my life. um, and so that stuff naturally started to bleed into what my brother and I had started. And I was fortunate enough to somehow stumble along, the space of Coffee with Captain, stumble into certain group chats here on Twitter, where I was able to learn from a lot of people. And fortunately, those groups were all over the place. Polygon, Avalanche, Ethereum, way back from when I got into the space from the get. So I was able to kind of hear what was going on in these different ecosystems, and I just tried to learn as much as I could, meet as many people as I could, get to as many in real life events as I could to meet people. And about a year and a half ago, I got really active locally, in my part of the world, trying to just bring more education of blockchain to my area. Very active in the Boston DAO, the secretary of the Rhode Island Blockchain Council. So we get to do a lot of work with governments like you mentioned, and a lot of different like policymakers from different companies. Coinbase is at a lot of the events out here. Circle goes to a lot of the events out here. So being able to hear from those people a lot and just be in those rooms has been very eye-opening, and also helps to navigate things like being able to bring Vanson into the space.
Love it. I love it. Go ahead, Steve.
But I was going to say, like, talk a little bit about what you are doing with Vanson, though. I know, and sort of what sort of inspired you to move in this direction. I'd seen the tweet, but again, pin anything up at the top. I see you've already got something out there. Talk a little bit about that and what you have going on there.
For sure. So this actually started last August. And it's a great example of like trying to move a Web 2 company into Web 3, and even what we're going to talk about today, it's like tiptoeing in, and really like trying to meet the brand and the owners and their vision, and not try to muddy their vision in any type of way. And so this relationship started last August, where I put on a big fashion show in my city, and I had contacted Vanson because I wanted to highlight them and have a bunch of their stuff in the show, because they are based where I live. And so we did that, and that opened up the door for me to be able to start building a relationship with them. The owners are both older; they're in their 70s. So that's another kind of thing when it comes to the space, is seeing these different brands, and then like trying to understand, okay, who owns them, and what is their level of understanding when it comes to technology.
It shouldn't
Or
assume, but safe to assume they probably weren't crypto native.
yeah, not at all. So good little segue in putting together the project that we're talking about today. They loved it as far as the art, as far as what it was standing for, and helping to commemorate 50 years of being in business and doing what they do. And then as soon as the NFT side of it came up, or blockchain side of it came up, that's when like the questions really started coming. And so I had to deal with, so they sent me, it was 2-3 weeks ago now, the Wall Street Journal and like the weekend edition had like this 2-page story on Dolce and Gabbana NFT drop that I guess didn't go well. And this guy had like a $5,000 civil lawsuit against Dolce and Gabbana, and they wrote a 2-page story about it, just like a hit piece on NFTs. And so they send me that, and they're like, "Oh, well, what do you think about this?" And so I had to read through that and point out a lot of discrepancies within the article, and why like it had nothing to do with what we were doing, and like walk them through all of that. So that was a long answer to no, they are not crypto native, and I think that's one of the big things to point out is most of these brands are not. And when you start to have conversations with them and try to get them to come in, even though I could point to big examples like Tiffany's, like Nike, it's still to get them to a lot of it, it's their baby. I'm not talking about big corporations obviously, but a lot of these brands, this is their brand, this is what they've worked their life for, and they don't fully understand this world. And so it is a big leap for them to come in. But I think the way that we're doing it, it's kept it completely separate, where they don't have to do, they're not involved in any way at all with like the crypto side of it. So that's why I said at the beginning, tiptoeing in very slowly.
Yeah, being careful and tiptoeing, I think, is often the way to go. And sort of how does one, I know you mentioned they like it and all these other, but like how does one go about like what is the early conversation and how do you convince a company like this, or like how do you like couch conversations with them or even other people in some of your work with like Boston Dow and all those other groups? How do you couch these early conversations? Because I'm always looking for ways to sharpen my my approach for sure.
Yeah. I go into it knowing that I am going to have to play the long game. I've tried before. As you know, I had a big, basically weekend conference set up over here that was supposed to happen a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. And we had all the companies set up. We had some sponsors set up. We had pulled all of the permits. We had the high school set up. We had the college on board. And I went to the mayor's office, and it did not go well. Ended up getting like, to make it quick, ended up getting like yelled out of the office twice. It was the weirdest experience I've ever had. But I think it was because I didn't approach it with the long game and really understanding the lead time needed for them to grasp it. And so that really taught me a lot about working in like the Web 2 world and trying to spread the knowledge of this. And so with Vanson, it, like I said, it started last August, bringing them into the fashion show. And then from there, I used End State as an example multiple times. I have basically all of their drops at this point. So every time I would wear a pair there purposely, I would bring it up and I would show them how it worked, and I would use the examples of how, I was able to meet Devonte Smith exclusively because of their shoes, and I was able to go to, I got a private tour of an unreleased exhibit at MFA in Boston because of a partnership they did with them, and so I'm able to explain it to them. The other thing that came into play here was that their creative director, is a lot younger, and he's more in my age range, and so he was able to also understand it, a bit quicker than they were, but he really understood like the whole branding and experience that can be built out using that technology. And so that's how I started, and would bring up conversations, and then went into the point of them like officially bringing me on as community and growth director, and that's a whole nother story. But once that happened, um, I had been introduced to Art Wolfie, and I loved her style of art, and being very fashion interested and like working in that industry, I realized that all of her pieces for the Gladiator series she had seemed very fashionable to me. Definitely more fashionable than other like quote unquote profile pictures, or like collections. And I saw that there was things that could be done, potentially. So I got introduced to her, and we started talking, and then I threw out the idea of Vanson, and this year being their 50th anniversary, mixing them in a way where it could commemorate that, and so we like brainstormed for like 2 days, and she put together a pitch deck. She did a bunch of the art, um, and each one of these pieces, so there's 444 pieces, and each one is a one of one. And she was just like crushing art. I would get these updates on my phone because we had a shared file, and it was like 30 images uploaded, and like an hour later 30 images uploaded. So she put that together in like the over a weekend, and then I brought it to the owners, and I said, hey, there's an opportunity here to get Vanson into a new market that you guys have not really gone into. Yes, there will be people within the market, not many, but there will be people that know of Vanson. Like I'm positive James knows Vanson leathers. So there will be individuals, but not a lot. For all intents and purposes, it's a new market for them. And then I explained to them how the Vanson would forever live within this art collection on the blockchain, and they were able to understand that. That took a bit. There was the questions like, okay, so like, what are they buying? Like, what can they do with it? And it's always interesting because it's like the same list. Like once you do it like 5 or 6 times, you know exactly what you're going to be asked. So walked them through that, and explained to them how it had nothing to do, like their side of it had nothing to do with crypto whatsoever. They won't be touching any crypto. They aren't attached to any type of like they're not putting out this project. It's more or less them licensing the name and agreeing to some things that we also have planned on the back end, for them. So they didn't have to really take on any type of responsibility. So and that's the way that I've seen the most success in like dealing with different organizations or local government, colleges, or like institutions like that, is keeping it very focused on art, on tech, and bringing like a real value use case to the table for them. And it also gave me the opportunity to give them a copy of the Everything Token, which I'm sure she already started. But there'll be a lot of that book being passed out. It's a good way for me to be like, here, read this, and it will answer a lot of the questions that you're going to ask me.
No, that's amazing. And I do want to go like, I mean, first of all, I think the idea of using sort of a like one of the themes that we see with brands that are successful is they trust the Web3 people to do the Web3 stuff and they leave the rest of the stuff, they do what they do well and they bring in people. It's like any other business, but for some reason, a lot of times we saw this with social media. Social media early on, we'd see a lot of people who came into social media, or a lot of brands who would say, oh, we can do social media. And that was that, right? By the way, crazy breaking news, Jerry West passed away, which is just something, I know it's unrelated to the conversation, but throwing it out there just because that one's one of those impactful ones of someone who's like one of the absolute all-timers. But
the logo, he's the logo
for the NBA, absolute icon, icon, legend, you know what I mean? And so it's one of those people that you see and you're just like, wow, that's, that one impacts me for some reason, just because I always like looked at like his work and what he did, both in and out of the game, but did not to bring the conversation down. I know it's not Web3 related, and sorry for that side note, but one of those things that I'm seeing on my timeline, I'm like, it's a pretty big one in the NBA. But
that, not to cut you off, that is big, and to kind of relate it and not to make light of it, because that is tragic. But especially for companies like The Colony, like if they had somebody right now that had a PSA 10 rookie card of Jerry West, like if you want to go watch this today, watch it, and it's going to rip. The price will rip on these cards. It's very much like NFT market and whatnot. Sorry for that.
No, it's actually like the art market in a lot of ways. The art market's very much that way too, where often artists, after they pass away, you see more of an appreciation. To a lesser degree, you see when people retire, it's like everybody who has a lot of thoughts on, like, I'm not just saying this to start debate, like LeBron James right now, right? And I think a lot of people did with Kobe as well. Kobe had a lot of haters who turned into a lot of Kobe fans after he retired, because you didn't have to have him cooking you up anymore, and you're like, oh, okay, like I appreciate this guy's game more. Like I think more people appreciated that final game than they did maybe when he was playing. And I think you see that oftentimes there. And then again, when people pass away, there's often this sort of, springboard onto that. So RIP to a legend, but we'll get back to this one though, because I think this is really interesting. And I was saying, like, one of the things that I think is interesting is when companies let Web3 people do the Web3 stuff, it tends to do better. And it's weird how you have these circumstances where businesses will come in and be like, well, we can figure out how to do this, or we want to do it this way, or this is how it's worked for us in Web 2. And it's like, you don't go into a new market and inherently do it. So I love that you're saying that. I do want to throw to Art Wolfie here and ask some questions about the art, because them all being one of ones is fucking bananas. Talk about your work on that.
Hey, yeah, I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me, everyone. And I want to speak on aspiring too, just to touch, like, piggyback off of all of this. I mean, aspiring goes so damn hard. Like, I move at 900% as an artist in this space, and aspiring, like, not only matches me, but he comes to me with like the next thing, and then we riff off of it, and next thing you know, wheels are turning and we're on to the next utility of this project. So while we've been moving at hyperspeed with the Kong Gladiators, it's really due to this relationship with Kong and aspiring, just propelling me forward as an artist, believing in me, and also listening to me, being a part of this process with me, and allowing me to share the art as I make it. Being an artist can be kind of lonely sometimes in its solitude, where you're working on art in private, but that's the beauty of Web3. So I guess we'll take it back to I am a trad art gallerist and curator. That's how I kind of entered the arts back in the mid 2000s. And I'm also a collage artist. And I also exhibited in galleries then. And then how I entered the fashion scene was through my friend Kiran Gandhi. She was the drummer for MIA. She's known for a million other accomplishments now, but her and I did a fashion line with Swoon. I don't know if you know the street artist Swoon. She does something called Pearlie's Beauty Shop, and it was at Super Chief Gallery in LA. And I don't know when that was, 2012. And so we did this really cool fashion experiment line together for the party, which was such an honor. I think it was like Obey Giant. I forget his name right now, but he was DJing, and so it was just this epic event. And yeah, so that kind of got me into doing fashion, but I'm a lot like Ed. So I'm a collage artist. I'm in fashion. I was a beta tester for Midjourney version 1. And it's because I launched a conceptual project based on Italo Calvino's book, Invisible Cities. That art, I mean, it's early AI art, right? But that was the year that I conceptualized the gladiators years ago, but I had to wait for the tech to catch up, right? Because I had this vision and I wanted it to come out in the way that I perceived it. And so I waited and I waited for another version and I waited for another version. And then version 6 came out and I was like, here it is. And I created the first 250 gladiators. If you aren't familiar with SoFi, I'm in the arena and I am the top selling ticket of a woman in the arena. If you're out there, don't miss me. I have my hand in all the pots every single day, every single year out here. I'm a huge supporter of the emerging arts, but yeah, I am here to be promoting the Con Gladiators and everything that's going on with Vanson. Something that Aspiring didn't touch on is the utility. And is it cool if I go into that without giving away all the secrets, Aspiring?
Yes, lightly.
I have to get permission because, like you were saying, we have to build quietly. We have to keep some things under wraps as we solidify them. And so I am just one that spills the beans all the time. And I get invited to spaces to talk about the gladiators. And right away, I see Aspiring in there. It's like he's babysitting me, like, don't say too much. But anyway, here I am to spill the beans some more. So obviously, the big deal about this Vanson partnership is the fashion utility. And what does that mean? That means that we have a separate wallet, totally transparent, a separate wallet that's getting funded from this drop that will purchase Vanson products. That's as far as I'll say. And if you have certain traits, you're going to get these mailed to you. And then there are other traits as well that get you into alpha chats, get you airdrops. You know, I've kept it really fun because I'm an artist and I'm also a collector. I collected over 10,000 NFTs on Object. And then I did a bunch of flipping in 2021, like everybody else, but I did it from a fine art standpoint on Tezos. And I flipped over, I think, 8,000 of those to raise artist floors. And so, I'm well versed in this game. I have done so many drops. I've dropped over 1,000 art NFTs. On secondary. I did my first collection on Tezos as the homies, as a digital art PFP, the first one on the platform. The first generative one was Tezards. Look into it. That's great alpha. And then there were the homies. So yeah, I've been around for a minute, but to be able to execute Con Gladiators now, it all came at the perfect moment because I executed that, like I created the collection, looping it back. I only did 24 hours of promo in the arena and that collection was gone. It sat on Joe Pegs for I think over a month in the top 10. And that really just kicked it off. And I realized, okay, people are believing in this collectible that I made, which is really exciting because this is what I'm running into the next bull with. So, and as someone like me who has multiple collections, who's a lot like Ed and has, digital collage, AI, you name it. I've done some really cool collages with old Renaissance pieces that you can find on Rarible. And then I've also curated with all these platforms, Rarible, Join, Campfire. I'm very involved in my community. So when I create a collection, I'm creating it for everybody. I'm creating it for the artists. I'm making it accessible. I'm creating it for the utility because I'm a collector. That matters to me. I'm creating it for the long run and the partnerships because I'm an artist that is continuously climbing in this space. And that involves many partnerships with many different people, whatever it is. Okay, I'm going to veer again. I just wanted to touch on something else you said, aspiring. I was working with the Hilton back in 2022 when I opened up my onboarding gallery in Mexico. And I was working with the Hilton out in Merida. And it was just pulling teeth, I tell you. You know, that's how it goes. You have to sit there and really engage with these corporations and explain to them exactly how it benefits them and why it's a long-term viable solution for them. And so it really takes it out of you unless you're someone like Aspiring and I, who just always go, always have that optimism that this space will be decentralized freedom for the masses. And when you think like that, you can only move forward. You can only keep going. You can only keep building to make this accessible, to make it inclusive, and to make sure that the art is fire, that we're not just pumping out shitty art. And so when I created this collection, I spent a shit ton of money creating it because I wanted everything to be perfect. And as you can see, I've created various fashion lines in this. And so that's kind of an alpha for you. There will be multiple fashion lines over years from this collection. Um, and that is in partnership with Aspiring, and we're not talking about that yet. So that's some real alpha right there, that Kong Gladiators is this staple for something that is a multi-year contract. And that being said, let's bring Kong into this because I couldn't be here without Kong. And what I love about Kong, and mind you, I did the I get hired a lot to do commissioned collections too, because I've been in the space forever. So the first meme coin collection I did on AVAX was the Comfy Crooks through what was that? No Chill. And that's more alpha for you because if you hold two Comfy Crooks NFTs in your arena wallet, you get the No Chill badge. I mean, this is like a whole other space. We can go into all of that alpha. But anyway, that was the first collection that I worked with a meme coin to do a drop. And I just have to tell you, Cap and Steve, this is something that you are going to be having a ton of spaces about. And I'm telling you now, let me be the prophet because I'm actually in the middle of it doing it, you know? So I first worked with the No Chill team to make the Comfy Crooks, and then more meme coins started coming to me for commissioned collections. But it wasn't until I found Kong that I found a community of people, and especially Aspiring, who is building in the real world, which is what I do, right? He is building in partnerships, which I'm a partnerships director in Web3. So that's up my alley. So when we talk, we get it. We understand what it takes to propel this space forward out of Web3 and into mass adoption in the real world. And for me, these are little ripple effects, right? Like for each one of us that goes and does this in our city, right, then we are expanding knowledge. And so when I met Aspiring, I was like, let's go. And, you know, Aspiring already got me set up with an exhibit at a prestigious gallery this summer with Kong Gladiators and other AVAX Kong related NFTs in that prestigious gallery. I mean, he's speaking my language. I come from the trad art world. So these these connections in a state that I don't have these connections is huge, but just the opportunities he's building for artists, that's it. That's the sweet sauce, right? And so here we are dropping. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no,
Going
no, no,
on
no.
and
I was gonna.
on.
No. Go ahead and finish your thought. I thought you're taking a beat, so I was gonna jump in. But go ahead and finish your thought, and then I'll ask my question.
Perfect. Yeah. So what's really exciting about this is that it is the Genesis collection on the Kong Marketplace. And the Kong Marketplace is exactly that. They're boutique. And so they're you know, I had a big conversation with Chris, who is the co-founder of Kong, but also the dev behind the marketplace. And yeah, he did something amazing. Back at the beginning of the bear market, through his company MetaPep, he was doing these micro drops. He did 100 of them for artists with under 50 pieces, and all 100 sold out in a bear. And so once again, these are my people that are building for fine art creator economy. And shout out to World of Women because I'm talking with them. You see my PFP, I'm an original minter, and they're also doing the same always, as we know. So when we meet these like-minded people, it's really exciting.
No, that's awesome. I love hearing about it. Love hearing about the innovation, the art, the utility, all things that are coming through in Web3 that I think are super dope. Want to give us the details one more time. We're gonna close. We're a little past the 10 o'clock hour, so we're gonna close down here in a second. We'll let Blockchain Ninja give us a shutdown because I think he has a security measure he want to get in there. Give us the details one more time so we're all sort of know where to go and what to be paying attention to.
Oh my God. Yes.
Hold on,
Oh yeah. Okay, go ahead.
before she does that, I just had to throw this in because it's a personal thing with me and Steve, because I'm a LeBron guy too when it comes to skills and talent, and we're just gonna leave it at that. However, I want you to go check something out. The night he scored 40,000, which no one else is going to do, you can, I'll be the guy to say that. He was wearing a Vanson jacket in the tunnel, and he has it on in the picture when he's holding the 40,000 on the paper. So I just wanted to add that.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Let's talk about that just 2 seconds, really quick, before we wrap up. Vanson is a 50-year-old company. Their connections run deep with A-list celebrities. Like this kind of partnership is massive in this space because we've already seen some of these partners, collect PFPs, whether it's Bored Ape or Punk, whatever. But to be infiltrating the space as partnerships with artists, this is like the meat and potatoes, I think. Anyway, that being said, the drop is in less than an hour. It is on the Calm Marketplace. If you are a sole ETH collector, you can go right to your MetaMask and switch to Avalanche C chain, and send some Avalanche there. And so the mint, okay, there's 444 total. The mint price is 2.5 AVAX, which comes out today. I don't know, aspiring, that's still under $100. Remember, this is the Genesis drop on the Calm Marketplace. It's also the Calm Gladiators, which I'm carrying with me in partnerships through these years. Oh, side note, I am an AVAX ambassador, but I'm also working directly with NFT NYC to integrate it fully to AVAX. So you can bet that you're going to see the Calm Gladiators in full force next year at NFT NYC. So just a little alpha there. You can scroll up, we pinned it, or go to my page. And hopefully I'll see you guys in the arena because I really believe that SoFi is going to be the next season coming up. And I'm happy to come back and talk about that with the CEO.
Love that. Love to hear it. Appreciate it. Best of luck on the drop as you go through it. It's always cool to hear people who are actually building stuff in the space, especially big brands. Looked up LeBron in that picture. That jacket is fire. So love that. Congratulations again on landing that. And as always, appreciate both of you for stopping by. Blockchain Ninja, if you are still with us, I know you wanted to toss out some security measures. So I just want to give you a chance to close down on that if you are still there, and if not, we'll shut down the space.
I am still here, sir. I do appreciate it very much. So Inferno Drainer is one of the biggest drainers in the space. He's stolen over $600 million in liquid and assets. So behind the scenes, I've been working on something for the past like 7 months. As of Saturday morning, this past Saturday at 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, in collaboration with Cloudflare, I was able to take down all of Inferno Drainer's customer panels, which is where his customers log in to use their phishing kits that they purchased and drain people. So Saturday morning at 3 a.m., all of his customer login panels were taken down, as well as his C2 servers, which host a lot of his infrastructure and phishing kits. Now, I know nobody gives a crap about security, but this was a huge win for Web3 as a whole, for crypto as a whole. And security people don't get enough attention. I'm not trying to bring light to this, but like people like NFT Drew are out here every day. OX Saying God is out here every day working for companies that you all know and love, that you use their products, and they never get enough attention. Just saying, give the security people some love because they do a lot of things behind the scene like this that never really get that much attention. Like who in here has been drained? I know I've got messages from like 20 or 30 of y'all in here. Um, so just this was a huge win. He's gonna rehost his stuff, of course, but I'll be ready. And now Cloudflare is on board with taking stuff down, which they normally are not. So again, this was a huge win. I just wanted to say it in front of everyone.
Well, congratulations. That's fucking awesome. Very cool to hear. And these are the things where it's almost like, and you have a background in this as well. I almost said your real name, and that was also a close one. You have a background in this as well, Blockchain Ninja, in the sense of like what I was going to bring up, which is, you know, the people doing security are very much like a lot of people who are in our armed forces, where you don't think about them every day. And I take for granted that I walk around my neighborhood with my dog at night and don't have to be worried about what's going to happen, or have unsafe environments. And, you know, you have people in the armed forces and other people who are in, you know, even some of the, you know, civilian, you know, sort of agencies to thank for that in those service jobs like that. And similarly, I think the people who do security on the blockchain who make it their life's work, make it safer for us so that people like us can fuck around in shit coins, have fun, do drops, enjoy utility, work on everything else. So appreciate you, Blockchain Ninja, for both of those fronts, for that matter, and appreciate you as a friend and a contributor on this show, in the DJ Network War Room, and across Web3 as a whole. That said, Cap, I have quite a bit of work to get done today, including a deliverable for you that I need to get working on today at some point. So I'm going to get working on that, as well as a couple other things. Appreciate everybody who stopped through this morning for a great show. Love it when we get to talk to some of our favorite people and about what they're working on. Got some old friends up. James Costa coming on stage, a James Costa appearance. Always a good one. Thanks to all our contributors on stage today. Thanks to everyone who came through. We will talk to everybody bright and early tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, everybody.
Is brought to you by DGen Network, the only community-based Web3 media network, bringing you the very best content in the NFT and cryptocurrency space. Please visit dgen.network and check out our other great shows. That's DGen, DGEN.network.
Welcome to the future.